Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Sunday, March 13th, 2022, and this is This Week in your daily Star Trek news. So coming up today on the show, Star Trek's Yeoman Colt, Laurel Goodwin, has passed away last month. We finally got a teaser trailer for Star Trek Strange New Worlds. We've got gameplay footage of the upcoming game Star Trek Resurgence, and there's a great one-of-a-kind experience with William Shatner coming to Star Trek Mission Chicago. My name is Alison Pitt, and today's show is supported by people like you through Patreon. To find out more and add your support, please head to patreon.com/Daily Star Trek News. Now, if you are listening to me on the podcast today, as per usual, I would like to invite you, that is, over to YouTube. We do this show live every Sunday at 2 p.m. Pacific time, even across daylight saving time. So for those of you who are live, thank you for joining me at the odd time if you happen to be overseas or in a place that does not observe daylight saving time. Anyway, we do this every Sunday at 2 p.m. Pacific time, where I will do the news that's coming up. We do a poll, we'll do some show and tell, and then for those of you watching on YouTube live, stick around for the very end where we do some chat that won't make it into the podcast. Anyway, before we get going, I just want to remind everybody that everything that I talk about on today's show is available on dailystartreknews.com. There's some other stuff on there too. Not everything makes it into the show today, but on there we do have links to all of our original sources, more pictures, more videos. We also do special articles for Trek Trivia Tuesday, history. We do our events listing, world famous Star Trek events listing, every Thursday, and some other stuff on there as well. That's also where you can go to sign up for our daily newsletter. So that's dailystartreknews.com. Now, I did tell you that there was going to be a poll today. We do this every week, and I try to make it thematically appropriate, so I don't know if it quite hit the mark. But anyway, we do a poll here live on YouTube. The same poll is also going on over on Twitter at Daily Trek News. So this week's poll is it's kind of a cross between the 10 Forward experience, which is happening right now as we speak, but also a little bit of Picard, if you happen to watch Picard this week. So the poll is, you just took command. What is your beverage of choice? Non-alcoholic. This is like a morning beverage to get you going. Is it tea Earl Grey hot? Is it coffee black? Is it Roctacino, or is it Colombian roast black? Hopefully you guys catch that reference. I thought it was funny. Anyway, yeah, so it's tea Earl Grey hot, coffee black, Roctacino, or Colombian roast black. Let me know what you think in the poll here. We'll check it at the end of the show. And then the one on Twitter will run overnight. And you can also, feel free to suggest other things, but those are the ones we want you to choose from. All right. So let's go ahead and get started with the news. And like last week, we are starting on a bit of a downer note with an obituary this week. The final remaining cast member from the original pilot, The Cage, passed away actually in February. So this is a little bit late news coming in. I will go ahead and read you what Chris wrote for us this week. Laurel Goodwin, who began her film career opposite Elvis Presley in the 1962 film Girls, 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 passed away on February 25th. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Goodwin's death was announced by her sister Maureen Scott. She was 79. Now, Goodwin is best known to Star Trek fans as Yeoman Colt from the original Star Trek pilot episode The Cage, starring opposite Jeffrey Hunter, of course, as Captain Pike. Unfortunately, her role was pulled from the show when the network ordered the series recast. She was the last living cast member to appear in The Cage, and of course, her work on the series would be revisited in the two-part episode, The Menagerie. While in Hollywood, she often studied acting under the tutelage of Leonard Nimoy. Outside of Star Trek, Goodwin had a successful career in both film and television. She appeared in the Jackie Gleason film Papa's Delicate Condition in 1963, The Glory Guys in 1965, and Call to Danger in 1968. Goodwin also appeared in episodes of The Beverly Hillbillies, Get Smart, and The Virginian. Goodwin left acting in the 1970s to pursue a career in nursing, but she did make a brief return to the film industry to produce the 1983 Burt Reynolds film Stroker Ace, directed by Hal Needham. Laurel Goodwin is survived by many friends and family, and please join us here at Daily Star Trek News in offering condolences on her passing. And once again, thank you to Chris for writing that up for us last week. All right, moving on to slightly happier news and long-awaited. This is also talking about Captain Pike, of course. The long-awaited teaser trailer for Star Trek Strange New Worlds has finally dropped. And there was some controversy a couple weeks back when they showed a teaser at TCA. I'm not 100% clear whether this is the same trailer that they showed at the time that, of course, was shown on the web and then got pulled down. Excuse me. But it doesn't matter because we now have a teaser trailer for Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Now, I'm assuming most of you have seen this by now because it's been absolutely everywhere. But just in case you haven't, just a quick little recap. We see Captain Pike in kind of an anachronistic house. It's very sort of today looking, except for, the communicator. And a voice is calling over the communicator saying they need him back on the ship. So then we see him riding his horse, presumably that's Tango, and then getting buzzed by a shuttlecraft, which I can't help but feel is probably irresponsible shuttlecraft flying, but that's okay. And then a montage of lots of different strange new worlds. There is one particular shot that's been gaining a lot of attention, which is that of at first glance what looks to be a shirtless Spock overlooking presumably Vulcan. He's not shirtless. He's got a light colored top on. So, but see if you can spot that one. And there's a little voiceover at the end that says, no matter what the mathematical probabilities or the number of times we say that we're not alone in the universe, our first visit from the stars is always the province of children's stories and science fiction until one day it isn't. So some inspirational stuff there from the new Star Trek Strange New Worlds trailer. Of course, we don't really know much about what's going to happen, except we do know it'll be more episodic. And until May 5th, we just have to wait. I'm guessing that they're going to start ramping up a little bit more publicity for it after the end of Discovery, which will end next week, I believe, because right now, I don't know if you've noticed, but there's actually 2 Star Trek shows going on right now. So we've got a lot to cover. Anyhow, go and check that out. That's available on YouTube. And of course, it's also available on dailystartreknews.com. I will post a link down below just in case you haven't seen it yet. Right, that is not the only cool upcoming trailer thing that we've seen. I'm going to switch over to talk about gaming because a few months back we talked about Star Trek Resurgence, which is an upcoming narrative game for consoles and for the Epic Games Store. And it is due out this spring. What's going on at the moment is that they've got a partnership or some kind of agreement with IGN that they're going to be dropping content all throughout the month of March. They started off one of the first videos of gameplay footage. It's 4 minutes long and it features Spock. And it gives you a feel for how you're going to play the game. So if you've ever played kind of a narrative game before, that's what this is. This is not running around and shooting like Star Trek Online. It's very much a listening and understanding, and then you as the character get to make choices. They're like dialogue choices. So as Spock is talking to you, a menu pops up near your head that says, okay, press Y to say this thing, press X to say this thing, and press A to say this thing. And then your choices dictate how the gameplay flows. Now, we did an article that points to the IGN article for this, for the video that shows Spock. They're talking in the ready room about sort of setting the scene for what the mission is going to be. They've also posted a second lot of gameplay footage, which is without Spock, but is in the engineering, in engineering. So you're getting a view of some of the main characters. There's also an article on IGN that talks about who all the main characters are going to be in the game. So if you are at all interested in this game, go and check out this kind of footage. Go and see what it's going to be like. I think it's going to be interesting. The thing that strikes me is that it's a very slow paced. So if you are used to like Destiny or even Star Trek Online, the pace is very slow. However, it's probably more akin to like old school Star Trek pacing, like TNG, early DS9, that sort of thing. So you should go and check it out and see what you think. And of course, make sure that you're following Star Trek Resurgence. It's at Trek Resurgence on Twitter. And also IGN, because they're dropping content all this month. If you want to see what's coming up, they don't. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I haven't seen a firm release date, but hopefully that's coming soon. And once again, this is for consoles, so PlayStation and Xbox. It's also going to be available on the Epic Game Store on PC. All right. All right, so moving on from gaming to, well, it's more stuff you can watch, right? Which is, by the way, the reason that I don't show the videos on here is because I don't want my account to get struck from YouTube. So I try to make sure that you have links to everything that you can go off and watch it. And I'll try not to torture you with too much of the descriptions, but a lot of this stuff is video that is available for you to go and watch, but it's not something that I'll be showing on this live stream. Anyway, the next one is another thing that you can watch. If you know me, if you happen to catch the panels that I did at Trek Talks, you know that I'm a huge, huge fan of the Okudas, Mike and Denise Okuda. They're graphic designers who've been working with the Star Trek franchise just for literally decades. And they were honored this past week with the Lifetime Achievement Awards from the Art Directors Guild. It's IATSE Local 800. It's well-deserved. And they were presented by that award by Herman Zimmerman, of course, who himself is a Lifetime Achievement Award recipient, and their friend Doug Drexler, who as well is an Academy Award winner and a Star Trek designer, kindly posted the video from that award and Herman Zimmerman's speech and their acceptance speech as well. So if you are in any way interested in graphic design or the graphic design history of Star Trek, I would highly recommend that you go and watch that, because Mike and Denise Okuda are extremely influential on the whole look of Star Trek. Even in Picard, they are still using that LCARS display that Mike Okuda popularized, and basically their mark on what Star Trek looks like is in a very big part down to the Okudas. So it's worth watching, and it's wonderful to see, because both of them are such lovely, lovely people. I've met them a couple of times, and you just so happy that because they are so deserving of this kind of recognition and achievement. So anyway, like I said, I'll leave links, and it's available on dailystartreknews.com. Please go and watch. All right. It looks like I might be having some streaming issues, so hopefully you guys can hear me still okay. I am going to move on to the next story here, which is talking about, excuse me. So I have been in contact with a company called Minikin. It's by Mass Persona, which is a 3D printing company, and they are offering a new one-of-a-kind experience coming up to Mission Chicago. Now, that's going to be a really, really interesting experience, and it is pricey, I will say that, but if you are somebody who likes William Shatner, and you want to meet him and you want to do a photo opportunity with him, they're offering up to 100 of these special 3D printed photo ops with William Shatner at Mission Chicago. So it's a really great, kind of a one-of-a-kind thing. Let me see what's included in there. It's Yeah, it's a 9-inch 3D printed figurine with you and William Shatner, along with the digital signature and identifier code, a 3D GIF of the scan, a short video of the experience, and 2 additional minifigs of Shatner and a personal note on that figurine. So really, really big deal. And it could be a really wonderful thing for you to go and do if you happen to be going to Mission Chicago and you've got a little bit of extra money too. So sales will begin on that on March 15th for 7 days only. You can find out more information at minikin.us/Shatner. As of now, I don't think that link is yet live, but it will be from the 15th, so you should go and check that out. Right. I'm just going to take a pause really quick here for 1 second because I cannot connect to the chat and I'm not sure whether I'm still connected. So please bear with me. Okay, so apparently I just can't see the chat in my streaming portal. So hopefully you guys can still see me actually on the video, and I'll try and sort that out in a minute. All right. All right. Okay. Right, so that's it for the big news this week. Coming up next, I'm going to do a little bit of show and tell, which is a holdover from last week. And we're also going to look at the poll results as well. I just want to remind you that if you are watching me here today, then everything that's going on is supported by people like you through Patreon. And you can find out more about that and how you can support us from just $1 a month. That's at patreon.com/Daily Star Trek News. Right. Don't forget, I did say that there's a poll running in the chat. We're talking today about command beverages of choice, non-alcoholic, but caffeine added. So please have a look in the chat on YouTube or head over to Twitter at Daily Trek News, and you can enter the poll over there too. So, right. So for show and tell today, I told you this is a holdover from last week because last week I showed you the 3D printed starship from Star Trek Online. That was extremely cool. And Thomas is getting such wonderful recognition for his work on that, and he's so well deserved. Listen back to last week's episode. Anyway, that's beside the point. This week is what was held over from last week, which is this book. And it's called Obsessed with Star Trek. Nobody sent me this, by the way. This is from my personal collection. I actually bought this because if you remember back in the early days of Daily Star Trek News, I kind of did everything, and so I did some trivia work on. Yeah, it was we had trivia on every Tuesday, and after a certain point, it's really hard to start. It's really hard to come up with new trivia questions. So I bought this this book that has 2,700 trivia questions. It's expanded and updated. And it really does. I mean, look at the inside. It's just question after question after question. Funny story, I didn't actually end up using these on my show because the way that I structured trivia was a little bit more in depth than that. I would do a Tuesday trivia like factoid and then like ask a question for Friday, and I needed sort of things to be in pairs, which I didn't have. But still, it is quite fun to read through this and check and see if you how well you actually know Star Trek. Spoiler alerts, I actually don't know it very well. Most of the things I wouldn't know. Like, okay, so here's question 2,471. Where on Bajor was the Orb of Time kept? Your choices are A, the Fire Caves, B, Vedic Assembly Hall, C, Temple of Eponu, and D, Gerado. I actually don't know what most of those are. So, yeah, it's a pretty good it's a pretty good resource. I'd go and check it out, especially if you just like Star Trek trivia or whatever. Maybe I'll send that to T, because shout out to T. Rick Jones. I don't do trivia anymore. He takes care of that for us. So yeah, that's it. I'll put a link to that in the show notes if you are interested in looking at it. Otherwise, that's what that is. All right. So let's go ahead and check on the poll. Hopefully this is up to date, and I apologize again if you're chatting with me and I can't see it. I'm sorry. Okay, so I'll give you guys a couple more minutes on YouTube and the poll, and I'm going to flip over to Twitter. Okay, so a little reminder, this week's poll, you just took command. What's your hot beverage of choice? And you had your choice between tea Earl Grey hot, coffee black, Roctagino, or Colombian roast black. So currently on Twitter, in the lead, just is coffee black, which is, of course, Janeway's drink of choice. She's with 35.6%. Now, tied for third place is tea Earl Grey hot and Roctagino. Nice. And way, way back in fourth place is Colombian roast black with a mere 6.8%, which is fine because, you know, the kind of guy who drinks Colombian roast black in a tiny little mug, you know, massacres people. Spoiler alert. Anyway, so that's what that is. I'm going to move over here and end the poll in YouTube now. I'm not going to end the poll in YouTube because it won't let me. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know how to end the poll because it won't let me, but I will tell you what the results are now that I can see. So, so far, we have actually Roctagino is in the lead with 39%. In second place is tea Earl Grey hot with 30%. Coffee black at 26% is in third place, and Colombian roast black, again, sadly, in fourth place with 4%. So that's good. That probably means that those of you who are in chat here with me are not psychotic dictators. That's great. If you are listening to this back on the podcast, or if you want to challenge the results of any of this poll, please feel free to head over to Twitter at Daily Trek News, and you can have your say over there too. Right. Well, that's it for this week in Daily Star Trek News. Thank you for listening. And of course, just a reminder that if you are listening to this on the podcast today, please come over and join us on YouTube from 2 p.m. Pacific time every Sunday afternoon. Yeah, technical difficulties and all. It's a good time. Anyway, yes, we do everything that you hear here. And then, of course, after I close out the show, I'll stick around for some additional chat as well. It's a really good time, and it's a good group of people in the chat. Anyway, just want to also remind you that you can find all of this week's stories plus more over at dailystartreknews.com. We've got all the articles, original sources, videos, photos, and the special articles like the world famous events listing, which I'm going to start calling it that. Anyway, you've got all of that, and it's also the place that you can sign up for the Daily Star Trek newsletter at dailystartreknews.com/contact, where we get you all of that, and it's delivered straight to your inbox with, you know, and you don't even have to do anything. So it's great. Anyway, thank you again for listening. This show is produced by me, Alison Pitt, and this week's stories were written by Chris Peterson, Marina Kravchuk, Jack Brown, T. Rick Jones, and David Powell. Today's show is supported by people like you through Patreon. You can find out more and add your support at patreon.com/Daily Star Trek News. I will be back next week with more of the Star Trek news that you need to know, hopefully with fewer technical difficulties. I'm Alison Pitt. Live long and prosper. Okay, listen, chat people. Excuse me. So I do. I can see you on my phone. Wow, that's really strange. So I logged in as not me on my phone, so I can see. Look, I can see a little picture of me. It's very bizarre. So, wow, I'm really sorry. So let me explain. So for those of you who ever do streaming, I use the YouTube webcam stream, and it shows me all the chat. I have a week off next week, so I'm going to try and actually upgrade that a little bit because it's not ideal. And like I can't show you guys anything because I'm just on the webcam. But yeah, for some reason we've been having some difficulty with our internet connection this week, and apparently it has just decided that I don't get access to the chat in the actual portal, but I can see the chat from a different account, so that's good. So please bear with me while I go and say hello to people. Um, Honestly, I'm so grateful you guys are here. Or Dogheim, thank you very much. You are always a great cheerleader in the chat, and I really appreciate that. Um, by the way, guys, this is very exciting to me. I put batteries in my thing. Also, I actually got a light bright for Christmas. Um, and I would like to do like a Star Trek based design in it. So if anybody has like the lowdown on any uh, light bright like authoring tools, let me know. Otherwise, I'm just gonna I will probably spend half of my week off trying to make a delta out of those little light bright pegs. So. So Robert Kaiser says this 3D scanning thing sounds really interesting, but way too high for me in price. But then I also don't buy autographs. Yeah, Robert, I agree. It's a high price point, and I don't think it's not necessarily going to be something that everybody can afford. But something that really interests me. First of all, I know that there are people who do spend a lot of money on Star Trek conventions, and for a one of a kind experience, I think that it's within the price range of people who would pay for that sort of thing, if you know what I mean. What's really exciting to me, and if you've heard me on this show before, you know that I don't really do photo ops and things like that. It's just me. I don't. That makes me super uncomfortable. But if you are the type of person who's like a collector, um, I'll try and make sure that we've got some pictures and stuff. I'm actually going to be speaking to the head of that company later this week, and hopefully I'll get some images and examples of what these things look like. They're super realistic. You go into this booth and it scans you, and then they 3D print you, and it's a totally different. It's like a level up from just the normal photo op. And while it's, pretty aspirational right now, the idea that that's something that we could do in the future is actually really, really exciting. Especially, we're Star Trek fans. We're like into that kind of stuff. So I'm excited that it's a thing that exists, if you see what I mean. Right. War Dogheim says about the poll. Uh, there wasn't a Dr. Pepper option. Sorry. Other cola-like alternatives are available. I would have settled for prune juice being a warrior's drink. Honestly, prune juice almost made it into the poll choice question, like the answers. Short list, and then I realized that I could do it just with Captain's drink. So, a Wharf, he didn't quite make it onto that list. I really wanted to put the Colombian roast in there. Um, who's seen Star Trek Picard, by the way? I can't. I actually don't remember off the top of my head. Is it available on Amazon Prime Video? I can't remember. Let's see. Okay, so Just Genius actually made a comment about the new Star Trek Resurgence game. So I had mentioned that it could potentially be a little bit slow based on what we saw in gameplay footage. He says, I've been wanting Telltale Games to do Star Trek. Trust it will not be slow. Their games have plenty of action and should pace well with Star Trek. Okay, that sounds actually good to me. I am not 100% sure that I've played their games before, so I don't really know what to expect. If the gameplay footage is actually really, really good. So they're 4-minute clips. They give you an idea of the voice acting. They give you an idea of the quality and the types of gameplay it's going to be. Please go and watch them. It's really worthwhile. Oh, and something that I forgot to say in the show is OMG. I was trying to find out who the actor was that plays Spock because it sounds like Spock. I can't tell whether it's partially, from the archive or what. Um, but the Spock voice is very, very good. I was very impressed by that. Anyway. Okay, so there's a few comments here about the Strange New Worlds teaser trailer. I just want to call out a couple of them. Um, Peter H says the SNW teaser trailer was great. My favorite part was all the way at the end due to the music, and I wanted to shout out because I 100% agree. So at the very, very end, they had the like splash title screen of Strange New Worlds, and the music cues were very TOS. I don't know how to describe it, and I am not going to sing it. Um, but it was a nice throwback, and it gave me the same kind of like, ooh. Um, I don't know if any of you will remember what it was like when Discovery came back, or well, when Discovery started. So this is 2017. This is way before I did this show, and it had been so long since Star Trek was on the air, and um, we really didn't know what to expect. And in Discovery, because it was pre TOS, right? They had these audio cues from the original series that I thought, I'm an audio person. They were really, really effective in evoking a like emotion about having watched the original series, that kind of helped ease you into, okay, this is Star Trek. And I mean, okay, you can argue whether we should have had to have that, but I just think it's a really nice nod. The end of that trailer is this does the same thing. They've got that old school um, theme tune feel to it, and it's personally really effective. Um, so on the other hand, Christoph says, I try to avoid trailers, and we Europeans still don't know how or when we'll get to see Strange New Worlds legally because P Plus won't start over here in time, hoping for Pluto TV. Yeah, this is one thing that I haven't heard anything about how Strange New Worlds is going to get distributed internationally, and I'm hoping that we don't have a Lower Deck season 1 kind of situation where it takes 6 months for them to figure it out. It sounds like P Plus was supposed to be sort of in the spring. Whether it will be available to Europe in time for May 5th, eh, I don't know. You still have, not quite 2 months, so maybe, I'm not sure. They also might be doing more deals with other people like Sky. I haven't heard anything about anybody's experiences using Paramount Plus through Sky. So if anybody does that, I would love to hear your experience. Um, but yeah, Christoph, I don't blame you for not wanting to watch the trailer. It's gonna be. Oh, and I should also mention, if you are not watching or you wanna avoid the spoilers, don't forget, you can mute hashtags on things like Twitter, and you can avoid them. Um All right. I'm going to skip forward because otherwise we're going to just be here forever with you guys watching me scroll my phone. Uh, so BC says, "Are you going to 10 forward this week, Allison?" Yes, I am. I'm going tomorrow. I'm going tomorrow afternoon, and I'm gonna buy some stuff, and that's probably what show and tell next week is gonna be. I'm also gonna take a bunch of pictures and hopefully share them with you all. Um, what's really funny is I bought a new camera for doing live streaming. Excuse me. So you're watching me on my new camera. I have no idea how to use it as a camera. So I'm gonna leave my nice camera at home and take my phone. So we'll see how that comes out. Okay. Last comment today, Just Genius asks, would you try to play Star Trek Resurgence live on YouTube? Theoretically, maybe, but probably not. I actually don't have a PC. I only operate on a, a MacBook, and I don't run Parallels or anything like that. So PC gaming is not feasible right now, and I don't really have the equipment to do streaming via the Xbox. So probably not. But I will see. We can see what we could do. I'll let you know my thoughts, and we'll see from there. Anyway, sorry about the technical difficulties, everyone, today. It's been a little bit challenging keeping up with your chat, and I apologize for that, but I do appreciate you being here, genuinely. So thank you again for coming. We'll do this again next week, and yeah, uh, we'll see what happens. I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice. The chat is broken. It's all just, not going that well today. Anyway, thank you again for being here. I really appreciate it, and we'll see you next week, I guess. Thanks again, thanks again, everybody, and have a good rest of your weekend, and we'll see you next week. Bye.